inside of past tournaments and inside of this bracket as well, makes Z a very, very large force to reckon with, even for a person like Sunfish, who Z, I believe, actually sent to the loser side of bracket.
Yep. Z did defeat Sunfish earlier, a little bit earlier today. So, I mean, let's see if Sunfish had the time to kind of think a little bit, get those adaptations in, and warm up a little bit more as well, because we saw a little bit of cold movements coming through from Sunfish before. And right now, looking a lot more comfortable with the Ignite stacks on already. The only reason that forward air didn't connect is because of the platform. And this is looking like a whole different fish. This is like, I don't know, moonfish maybe, because this is like looking like you've had a lot of time to warm up and you are ready to go.
Definitely looking like a completely different game. Fantastic conversion there by that Tom. Really like the way that Tom basically sandwiched Wonder Woman between Jerry there to go ahead and get percentages. And what we're seeing right now is something we haven't seen previously, which is Wonder Woman sitting at over 100% against Sunfish. As many will recall, the very first match they played earlier side of the bracket, they each basically had an SD immediately inside of the match. This is nothing like that type of movement or that gameplay.
Oh!
Whoa!
Oh, good.
That was dangerous. That's crazy.
Yeah, actually using the rocket and the down air at the same time, and now Z trying to look for an early conversion earlier, but managed to get that up special from the air, sneaking that through there just to get the big hit, to get the KO, and now it is Sunfish's game to lose. Look at all this control that he has. He has a trap there, he has Jerry there. How will Z navigate this minefield?
Really, really nice use of armor here, and you can. I'm noticing that Z's already changing their game plan when it comes to when and how to armor against certain moves, which no doubt is in preparation for a possible comeuppance again against ZD. Very just interesting to see that mindset change thus far. Fantastic armor. We're already looking at Amazonian Shout being basically full at this point, but 99% already stacked up on the corner. That's a dangerous situation for Wonder Woman to be in for sure.
Yeah, able to use the cleanse and armor to get some like reprieve from all the hits that she's been taking, but you know, that frying pan could come close to getting the finish right there. Jerry should be up in just now, but down air, okay, saving you a little bit. Now it's not all hope is lost right here for Z. Full Amazon Shout and Wonder Woman being heavy means that you can make some big plays, and Z has made comebacks several times tonight. I can't never count them out.
I'm interested to see exactly what the plan is here for Sunfish. Looks like they're just comfortable. I'm not necessarily seeing. Beautiful. There's the setup. Now, what's really interesting to me is, oh gosh, that down air was dangerous.
Yeah, the knockback got overridden by the rocket right there. That should have been it, but all roads lead to the blast zone when you're playing in that kind of situation as Sunfish takes that game number 1.
Now, I saw Sunfish get up before that even finished converting. Sunfish knew that fishing pole was going to convert, and that is a certain level of character mastery that I don't know if we've necessarily seen with a Tom and Jerry inside of this bracket. Now, I know you are very familiar with Sunfish. Can you talk to me a little bit more about their history with Tom and Jerry?
They've been playing Tom and Jerry pretty much since day 1, because one of their mains in Smash 4 and Ultimate was Rosalie and Luma. So kind of a similar puppet archetype that Tom and Jerry has. Although I think Tom and Jerry is a lot more unique and has a lot more tricks. You know, it wasn't too much of a stretch to get him kind of used to playing with 2 characters on the screen at the same time. So I really like this character for him, and we're going to see more of it as the day goes on, because I really like Sunfish's odds to keep on moving through the bracket. But Z might have something to say about that. Might have something to say, because my dude is looking logged all the way in right now.
It's one of my favorite changes to see, as I said previously, inside of the bracket. A player basically go back, to character select and just be like, okay, I got this, and kind of just start to download and completely install. It's very, very nice to see inside of this, and I feel as though Z is no exception, but unfortunately Z's already at 100%, and whoa, that was a dangerous situation for Sunfish. Z moving Sunfish all the way up to the blast zone, and Sunfish very easily, very quickly recovering back. It almost feels as though Z's just trying to play catch-up inside of this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, how you start against Tom is so important. If you get an early lead stacked up against you and then catching this character, good luck. As we see right there, I mean, Z just trying to look for something big, but on Trophy's Edge as well, you have those platforms to retreat back to, so it's just another avenue to regain all those resources and maybe shoot a Jerry off just to, get some space back. And we see the rocket approach over and over again. When the rocket comes through, it's mixed up with like, okay, do I need to kind of avoid this, or do I need to avoid the Tom? So much to deal with right now, Sharpie.
There are a lot of bottles coming through, and that is actually the third time that Jerry Rocket, or specifically a Jerry bottle, has been the responsibility and has been directly connected towards Z's unfortunate knockback there. You know, it's really oppressive. It's really, really dangerous. And one of the things that beautiful dare right there, that is the Z I am used to seeing. The dare that covers all other options. That's the Z that I want to see here. And I'm seeing a lot more of that same Z we saw about now 3 games ago against ZD. We're seeing the projectiles immediately come out. We're seeing that armor immediately answer to it. We're seeing the cleanse coming out a few moments before the projectile actually connects, so that they're able to armor through it. Now, that is a much more dangerous style, because it means that, unfortunately, Wonder Woman won't have as much armor to contend with anything else afterwards. But I think that Z is comfortable playing that way, and I think Z just has to give into their instincts here.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to how much you prepared beforehand as well. So, like, you know, giving into your instincts right now is a good idea. But I also have to really shout out how well Sunfish has been protecting Jerry.
For sure.
Like, in the previous time they played, Jerry was off stage more often than not. Now this time, we see a lot of times the Rockets just kind of laying on top of Tom, so it's an easy pickup. We see the fishing rod picking Jerry back up. And we see some sneaky finishes right there. The Rocket all of a sudden comes through, and Sunfish is going to take that game, moving up 2-0 at the moment against Z in the Losers Finals. Best of 5.
One more match, specifically one more win, is standing between Sunfish and moving into grand finals on the loser side against ZD, eliminating Z from this bracket. Now, of course, everyone knows that Tom and Jerry is a threat, is an issue when it comes to playing this game. As you so succinctly said inside of a previous set, if you do not understand the matchup and you do not have that knowledge prior to going this match, that's not something you can expect to adapt and learn inside the middle of the match. You need to have a game plan going into this. And I think what we really need to see from Z, we really need to see adaptation. We really need to see you determining when that armor is worth using and when it's not prior to the game starting. Because the very last match that we saw, unfortunately, Z had racked up entirely too much damage to be a contender against Tom and Jerry. We're hoping not to see a repeat this time.
Yep, because if it does, then there won't be another time. This is losers, everything on the table right now. So Z needs to come through bigs, needs to come through with some massive plays, and, you know, has stage control, but what it's worth, oh my gosh, that rocket was horrifying.
Yeah, that was very, very well played there by Z, and I think that's exactly the type of play that we're talking about. All of these just barely seem to be touching when it comes to trying to get onto Tom, and it's so frustrating because every single time Z approaches, Jerry is right there, and Z isn't able to do very much, you know? A lot of, unfortunately, the times that Z does try to come out with the whips, they're missing or they're hitting a projectile, and Z has to take a step back. Like, even right there, we saw the rocket come out. Z had to respect it because he didn't want to go ahead and waste that armor there. Fantastic shout right there. Wasn't able to secure that crucial knockout, and the whip missed. That was all of Z's tools basically used right there to secure that. All missed, only for Sunfish to move forward with that knockout. This is not looking good for Z at all.
Yeah, not in the slightest. I mean, Sunfish is playing hot right now. Saw him get a little bit of a tricky stuff with the Jerry shot off the wall into catch into a setup afterwards. So this guy's firing on all pistons right now as Sunfish just trying to reset that kind of line of scrimmage, make sure you could burn all those resources before you get close. But Z finds that down air and finds it off the top. Great work right there.
Yeah, so Tom was able to get a very, very quick rocket, and Jerry set up there with invulnerability, which I think basically gave them an opportunity to get 74% for free onto Wonder Woman very, very quickly. And now Z is already at 100% without a cleanse that just came off cooldown. And unfortunately, a missed whip means that now you just have to play catch up every single time Z comes down with down air. That Tom is ready to dodge it or immediately moves to sacrifice Jerry. And that is going to secure Sunfish the victory inside this losers finals 3-0 against Z, the person who knocked them into losers. J-Dog, what an amazing shutout set. I was not in any way, shape, or form expecting that. I went into that set saying that Sunfish was one of my favorite players, obviously as a heart pick, not necessarily as a skill pick, but we saw it there. Sunfish brought forth the skill, the focus, and the heart inside of that match to ultimately move forward onto grand finals against the ZD here.
Yeah, it's kind of a reminder that sometimes we just got to go with our hearts because Sunfish, like once he was warmed up, that was a whole different player right there. That last KO, I also have to highlight because he kind of used the Jerry Rocket as a pseudo counter in a way,
Yes,
since you couldn't
yes.
really like clash with it. So it's like, okay, I know you're going to come in. I know it looks like I gave you an opportunity. You've been itching to get in this entire time. I'm playing Tom. I'm throwing tennis balls. I'm throwing like rats. I'm throwing rockets at you. I'm just going to give you this one opportunity, only to snatch it right away and take the game. Very smart play and playing the long game as well. Tom players, I feel like, kind of come into their own in the best of 5 sets, I feel.
I think that's something that we've seen a lot of inside of this set. Both people that we've seen now currently inside of Grand Finals, ZD as well as Sunfish, have showcased a true understanding of the act of Yomi or conditioning when it comes to understanding their opponent. They each understand when someone is going to basically react to something and how they're going to react, and that has gotten them to this grand finals thus far. Now, I want to personally shout out ZD because as a Batman player, understanding your opponent is so incredibly paramount because of the tools that you have. While they are very, very powerful tools, they're very specific tools with very long cooldowns, with the exception of Batarang, if you do not utilize them properly. Smokescreen, incredibly long cooldown, but a fantastic visibility and approaching tool if you know how to use it properly, which ZD obviously does. Rocket, an amazing projectile that allows you an immense amount of knockback if you know how to use it properly. If you're caught setting it up incorrectly, it will be the condition for your knockout. But we saw Sunfish there several times over, taking the opportunity immediately after spawn to go ahead and set up Rocket. Immediately after knocking Wonder Woman off, set up Rocket. Immediately after securing another knockout on Wonder Woman, set up Rocket. Things like this are so tantamount to moving forward inside of a game like Multiversus. I'm very, very, very excited to see both these players here inside of this grand finals.
Yep. So it's going to be a bit of a T-Door grand finals. We're tracking down ZD. ZD, actually more likely than not enter both games. I'd be shocked if we didn't enter Ultimate as well. So, kind of double dipping in the platform fighters. And that kind of comes with some pros and cons. So the pros, like, you don't really get quite as cold if you were just like waiting for a set. But the cons, sometimes it takes two different brains. We saw a lot in Smash, like there were some players who would play Ultimate in Melee, and they would come back and like try and wave dash and then just like get blown up because it's like 30 frames of end lag on a wave dash in Ultimate. Like, don't do that unless you have a purpose behind it. So I'm interested to see how ZD kind of flip-flops back and forth between both the games here in this grand finals, although he does have the bonus of coming from winner's side. So that's always something.
Now, it's interesting that you say flip-flopping. I almost wonder if that was a fish reference.
Maybe so. I don't think about what I say. They don't pay me.
I'm just a commentator. What do you mean?
Yeah. You see, words, mouth, filter, none. There's nothing else there. All right. I'm just
Now, speaking of filtering, I want to shout out yet again what a fantastic event